Why is it? Why is it that men consistently leave good women for the toxic one, for the Bronx mode type of woman, right? So today we're going to be exploring why that is, and above all, why there really isn't there's really no reason to feel bad about it. There really isn't. The reason why is because you're not losing out on anything. There's something deeper going on that it has nothing to do with you and more to do with this other person's insecurity. And that's the beauty about this. That a lot of this, that if you are a good woman, eventually you're going to win out in life. And that person will come back to you once they fucked up asking for forgiveness. Now, why is it that that happens? Especially when they come back once you got over them. We're going to explore that why that is and how to prevent that phenomenon. Because even though you're a good woman, you're doing some things that's inspiring them to go after the toxic ones. And there's a way to reverse it. It's much easier to reverse this than to be toxic and reverse it in the other way, okay? So with that being said, don't forget we have 50% off all of our courses using the coupon code BLACK and 20% off working with me one-on-one using the coupon code BLACK, okay? So remember this, man. Good women are destined for two destinies in life. If you're somebody that's good and that's not toxic, you're destined for this. One, a happy relationship. And two, happy single life. This is your destiny. You're gonna get one or the other. Why do I say that? Well, because if you're not toxic, most people that you encounter are gonna be toxic. Now, why is it? Well, toxic doesn't mean they're bad, but the dynamic between both of you can be toxic if you're not compatible. If you're not compatible and you're not willing to leave, the situation becomes toxic. That's how that works, right? And so someone who is healthy, who has a healthy mindset, who is a good woman, a woman of high worth, when they encounter the toxicity, they leave. So you'll notice yourself that you have longer periods of being single, but when you're in a relationship, it works out really well. Where toxic women either are perpetually single or perpetually in a relationship, where they never even have a month of being single. They already have somebody who's ready to replace their current partner, right? So that's a crazy thing. So let's talk about why that is. Why is it that guys leave them? And the thing is, it has nothing to do with the fact that you're more attractive, right? It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with the other person being better looking, right? It has more to do that this other person, to be with you, requires growth. To be with you requires growth. And it requires maybe having a different lifestyle. It requires maybe moving to a new place. It requires maybe controlling this emotion, that emotion, or learning how to be more open, or learning how to handle with different types of people. But the thing is that when you are with a healthy person, you got to grow as a person, because usually if you're toxic, you're cherry picking situations that only give you all the power. But in order to be with someone, you're gonna have to grow as a person. It's just how that works. And most people are not ready for that growth. And so they'll leave a situation, a good situation, so that they could be lazy and not have to grow as a person. And the next thing that it takes compromise. And toxic people don't like compromise. Toxic people see compromise as a loss, right? And in order to be in a healthy relationship, you got to compromise, right? Maybe you notice that this person likes to hang out with his friends a lot, right? And you want to hang out with them, but you know they like to hang out with their friends. And so you learn to compromise and you talk it out and you find a solution that's custom made for this relationship, right? The issue is that when you're toxic, you're too selfish and you see compromise as a bad thing. Well, if you notice any good relationship, because I listen to a lot of stories of people in long-term relationships, is that the old people who are together for 50 years, they all compromise. It was never like 100% happy. They had to compromise something, right? Like maybe the guy traveled a lot for work and now they have to stay in one country. Like that does happen. Compromising is a healthy relationship. Both compromise somewhere because the other person is never your perfect partner. It's never perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And whenever you are self-sabotaging yourself by trying to look for perfection, well, then you're always going to find a reason to leave. And sometimes we do that just to leave, to actually leave, right? The next thing, which is kind of interesting, is that they find it boring because it's consistent. People have two sides, the side that wants fun and the side that wants consistency. You gotta understand what's fun is not consistent. It's just the fundamental nature of it, right? And so these people are dope driven. What I mean by dope driven is that they're the type of people that to have a good time means having a lot of dopamine, means newness. So seeing you every day and having a deeper relationship is not enough. They need newness, right? And whenever you want a consistent relationship, a long-term relationship, you need some of this. And this is literally oil to water. To toxic people, this is oil to water. Because a lot of times they got to control the situation to control how they feel. When they have a consistent situation and their emotions go up and down, they've gotten used to controlling situations to change how they feel rather than getting at the source and learning how to control your emotions. You get what I mean? Like constant newness is their high. And you provide the opposite of that. And they find that boring, right? And the problem is that as you get older, you start to value this more, or as you get more unhappy, you value consistency more. Once you start to notice the how much pain your inconsistent fun lifestyle gives you, you go towards consistency. And this is where they come back, right? This is where they come back begging, right? It's just toxicity, through and through. The next thing is that it requires for you to leave the ego at the door. It's not about being right or wrong. It's not about being the most attractive one. It's not about getting validation from other people. It's about learning to make your world smaller. And a lot of the time, by limiting how many people you see on a daily basis, which is honestly, it's a sign of consistency. You just have daily routines and you keep it consistent. A lot of people's ego need constant validation from new people and new things. It's the sameness doesn't give them that sense of security that validation from others doesn't. And so they'll rather go for a person that makes them work, that is difficult from the start, that is challenging, right? Because you validating them, being open, being vulnerable, doesn't really satisfy the ego. In fact, the ego wants to hide behind that. They don't want to feel vulnerable, right? So the ego gets in the way where it's really not about having a relationship, but about what other people think, or about being the good-looking couple, or so there's no real depth in the relationship. It's all about keeping my ego. It's all about being the man in the relationship, and that type of stuff. When you show vulnerability to a guy who's all about ego, they may not like that, and they'll go towards a woman who activates the ego, right? And usually it comes down to the next point: no drama. Healthy people don't fight. That's just how that works. Healthy people don't fight. They're like, hey man, look, we could talk, but we're not yelling. We could talk, but we're not gonna be calling each other names. We could talk, but you can't touch me, right? Some people like the drama. If you want my attention, you could get it, but you don't have to try to make me jealous. You don't have to try to flirt with a girl in front of me just to get my attention. That's type of toxic stuff. Oh, I did something you didn't like. Now you're canceling a meetup with me? How? So anytime we have a disagreement, you're gonna cancel on me last minute? That's toxic. That's not how you talk about things. Let's talk about it. I've met women like that, where if, like, I remember one time I asked this girl, hey, wear a dress. We're gonna go get dinner. I remember that. I still remember that. Because I got someone new there. I was like, what the fuck is your problem, you idiot? And she was like, why are you telling me what to wear? I was like, what do you mean by that? She was like, never mind, I'm not gonna go. If you're gonna be talking to me like that, I'm not gonna go. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm not gonna lie, I got annoyed because I was excited. I wanted to I wanted to take it to like this restaurant. And I wanted her to dress a certain way because it was a fucking Israeli restaurant. Seriously. And she was like, I'm not going. And I was like, you know what? This is the second time you do that. And it's been like 1 week that I've known you. Let's end it. Don't text me no more. Next day, hey. I'm like, what do you mean, hey? She was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, hey, yesterday you literally canceled on me last minute. What are you talking about? She was like, oh, you're gonna be dramatic about it? And I'm like, what? In my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like what in the Satan is going on? This is weird. I felt weird. I'm like, this girl's acting like she doesn't do shit. And I was like, hey man, look, if we're gonna see this, you gotta apologize for yesterday. You keep canceling last minute. She was like, I'm not apologizing for anything. What's up with you and apologies? I was like, you know what? Like I'm tripping here. At one point I thought I was tripping. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, am I tripping? Like, am I being an asshole? Like, what's going on? And I was like, you know what? I think this is how you are because I'm not like this, right? I told her, I was like, I'm not like this. I never have these types of arguments with people. And the fact that this is the second time with you, I don't care how nice you look. I'm good. And we ended it. It was, honestly, it felt so crushed. It felt so sucking. Like just the interaction with her and how she would like misinterpret things made you feel like you were going nuts. And that's the part that a lot of people tolerate. Cause it's like, yo, like you gotta understand, it gets worse. It gets worse. And it comes down to the next point actually, which is you have boundaries. When you have boundaries to toxic people, they don't like that. You know how to resolve issues. They don't like that. The fight is what keeps it interesting. They can only fuck you if they're mad so that they can have makeup sex. They grow addicted to the toxicity. And I honestly, I think about when I was retelling that story, it annoyed me just retelling it because I was so fucking annoyed. I was like, yo, like, how is that a problem? Like, it's wild. But that's why you got to stay away from those people because when you step away, you realize how ridiculous it is. It is true. That is wild as shit. But some people, when you're toxic, you're in a defensive position like this, you know? And so when they leave because you don't agitate their toxicity. They're looking for someone to agitate it. They're looking for someone to stimulate their toxicity. And when you walk away, rather than trying to fix this toxic situation, they don't like that. They want you to fight. They want you to swing. They want you to get dirty with them because that's their way of having a relationship. And I told her, I was like, hey, look, man, like, I don't know how you do things, but this is not how I like to do things. So I would prefer we both end it and let's just walk away, no hard feelings. Actually, I think I blocked her or something. I think she blocked me, right? And that's the point, man. So now it's like, I remember telling her, I was like, look, go find someone else. There's a guy out there who's willing to tolerate you. You are that good looking. You're not gonna have a hard time finding your own get. You'll find him. Trust me, he'll be out there. All right? And that's how it is. So it's kind of like, you know, you win by not being with them. You gotta understand, avoiding a toxic person, it's like finding a great relationship because you're gonna keep the relationship with yourself. And of course, it's gonna stay pristine, right? And the last one, which is, I put this right here. Let me put this right here. Okay. So remember, he's not right. He's not the right one for you. The right man will not leave you. If you are not dramatic, if you're the type of person that's growth oriented, healthy, the man who's meant for you will not leave. It's just that these guys are not ready to grow. That's just how that is. They're not ready to grow. They're not ready to give up a certain lifestyle. And so they so they leave until they're ready to give up that lifestyle. And the truth is, a lot of those guys will always live their whole lives in that middle state of wanting consistency and wanting inconsistency. Like it's just how that is. And that's why it requires personal growth as a person. You know, as you get older, naturally your brain would just look for more human connections, more consistency. But unfortunately, by that time, you're over them. Shows how that works. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget we're having 50% off all of our courses using the coupon code BLACK and 20% off working with me one-on-one. The course that I recommend you guys get individually is The Feminine Woman. It's my new course. It's literally how to do this. It's how to have boundaries, how to develop your masculine side. And it's a self-help course to develop your self-esteem. You could purchase that now at $99 and then with the coupon code, get it for $50 and it ends on the 7th. So it's like 2 more days. Anyways, take it. Bye-bye.